Hey, future Black and Latinx leaders. You are listening to the Keys to the Office podcast, where we interview amazing professionals who share their individual career paths to set you up for success. We're giving you the keys to the office, and all you need to do is show up ready to unlock the door. Let's jump into today's episode.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Keys family. I am super excited about today's conversation, in part because I expect to learn a lot about a path into the nonprofit space. And I know this person we're talking to today, Miss Sabrina Walker Hernandez, is the go-to for all things nonprofit. She's a certified consultant, a coach, a facilitator, a bestselling author out in Texas, and has done amazing things and is excited to share her journey with us. So join me in welcoming Miss Sabrina Walker Hernandez.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited because I love what you do and the message that you send out into the world. And so I am just happy to be a part of that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So without further ado, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are. Tell us what you do.
So my name, again, is Sabrina Walker Hernandez, and I'm the president and CEO of a company called Supporting World Hope. Mm-hmm. And what I do is I really help nonprofits and small businesses build relationships that increase revenue. Now, that sounds very generic, but I'm telling you, in anything in life, building relationships is the key, whether that is while you're in college, while you're in high school, while you are, in your career. That building relationship is the key to success. Like I said, whether you're going to be successful in your college journey, whether you're going to be successful in your work journey, building relationships is key. And so as much as I can spread that in my chosen career path, people get afraid of fundraising. You say that dirty F word, they're like, I don't want to ask nobody for money. That's not my thing. And I tell them all the time, fundraising is asking for money, and fundraising is only 5% of the process. 60% of the process is building relationships because people give money to those they know, like, and trust. And that's the bottom line, whether you're in a for-profit or a not-for-profit business. It's about that know, like, and trust factor.
Mm-hmm. That was deep because that know, like, and trust piece is what I used to speak to quite a bit as a sales coach. And that was financial services. Never did I think about how that would translate to the nonprofit space and fundraising. So building those relationships is key. Is this the path you saw for yourself? So let's rewind the clock a little bit, right? Like, when people think, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? I used to want to be a teacher, then a social worker. So what did you want to be when you grew up?
So what I wanted to be when I grew up, because my mom told me that's what I wanted to be, because I used to argue all the time, was a lawyer. She's like, you're going to be a lawyer. And I really bought into that. I really did. And all the way up until I got to college. That was a path, and we'll talk about how I got there.
Yeah.
But up until my senior year, I was majoring in political science, pre-law, and then I did an internship with this nonprofit called Advocacy Resource Center for Housing, which is ARCH, which did mediation between landlords and tenants. Now, I took on the internship, one, because I got college credit, right? And then two, I thought, this is great. I want to be an attorney. I get to practice mediation. But when I got there and I actually started doing the work, I got to interact with a lot of attorneys. And neither good nor bad, but I decided that I did not want to be an attorney because in my world, there's right and there is wrong. In the attorney world and what law school teaches you is there's no right, there's no wrong, there's only the law. I'm too right, wrong for that. And I'm like, I can't, if it's wrong, it's wrong.
Right.
And I can't support it even if the law says is okay. I said, I can't do that. I don't want to learn how to think that way. But I did fall in love with the nonprofit side of the house. again. I say
Mm-hmm.
again because my mom was a missionary in the church.
Wow.
And growing up, we would, if you want church choir robes, you did a fundraiser.
Yep.
You wanted to go on a church field trip, you did a fundraiser. So I fell in love with that part of it again. I'll never forget my parents, their education background is limited. My dad, sixth grade. My mom dropped out of high school in the 10th grade. It's a story behind that because she used to get picked on because of the type of clothes that she wore. She grew up poor. So she almost made it and she dropped out. She went later and got her GED many years later, but she did. But I say that to say they were very happy and they knew what an attorney was, what a lawyer was. Everybody knows that. You can brag about your child that's the attorney or the doctor, right?
Yeah.
So when I called them and I said, I'm not going to go to law school, they were devastated. I said, but I'm going to go to graduate school. My parents had no concept of what graduate school was. None. So they were totally disappointed in me.
Feels like more money.
Yeah, I had to explain to them, I'm going to graduate school. I'm going to get an MPA. It's going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. Higher education is above the high school, but they never grasp it. And even move further down the line, the nonprofit career path that I chose was being a CEO for a Boys and Girls Club in my local community. So forever, my mom would say, oh, she just goes to work and plays with the kids.
Okay. She's a little bit more to it than that, Mom, but okay.
Yeah, a little bit more to it than that. I fundraise. I have a board of directors. I took my budget from $750,000 to $2.5 million. I'm in charge of this. I'm in charge of that. But she said, oh, she plays with the kids. But, I was happy to play with the kids. It was the career path that I chose. And it was a very fulfilling career path that I chose. So, but yeah, it was very interesting to have to explain to parents who don't have that educational background what a graduate degree is and how that goes. Because my mom growing up, and I was sharing with you, I'm hoping to encourage someone. My mom, when I was growing up, she had this mantra that I heard every day of my life. And I don't judge her because we do what we know, what we grew up with. And so she would say, at 18, you're getting out of my house. You're going to join Uncle Sam's army. You're going to go to college. And if you go to college, I don't know how you're going to pay for it, but you got to get out of my house. Wow. And so that was every day of my life. I knew I had to get out of her house at 18. And so I thought, what am I going to do? I have to make some bad decisions. And some of those bad decisions included getting married.
Okay.
I got married. Then I ran away from home from the marriage and joined the army.
Okay.
So that didn't last very long.
Yes.
I thought, maybe I can get out of here. Let me get married. And I got married and I was like, no, this ain't going to work for Sabrina.
Not it.
This is not it. And so I ran away and I joined the army. And so I was in the army. And when I was in high school, I did everything that I thought I was supposed to do. I took the AP classes. I studied hard. I did all of those things. I did not graduate at the top of my class. I didn't graduate at the bottom of my class, but I did graduate in the top 25%.
Good.
And so I thought in graduating in the top 25% that I was going to for sure get some scholarships. But what I learned because of my background and because I was not in that top 10% and I was not in the bottom, I was in the middle. And no one spends time with the kids in the middle. They don't spend time with the kids in the middle. And so I only got one scholarship. And that was I remember it very clearly, $250 scholarship to the local junior college. Now, was it because I think a huge factor of it was I was unaware of the scholarships that were out there because my counselors were not talking to me about that. Sabrina. And my parents did not have that knowledge. And so I thought the way out of my parents' house is to get married. Let me get married. Like I said, that didn't work. So I ran away to the Army. Now my scores on the ASVAB was very good scores. And so the Army gave me a huge scholarship, a huge, education bonus or education investment. And so I did what I had to do via the Army, and the Army actually paid for my undergrad degree and my graduate degree. It paid for both of them. I did 2 years. This is when you could do 2-year contracts. I did a 2-year contract with the Army, did my 2 years, and then I got out of active duty and I did 4 years of Army Reserves, started college. I got a divorce, and I'm telling this story for every little girl that's out there who might be experiencing this. I'm going to give you the good, the bad, the dirty, the ugly.
Yes. Come with it, Miss Sabrina. Yes. Come on.
got a divorce, met my current husband, and you will be happy to know I've been with him for 30 years now.
Yes.
I met my current husband. We met in the military, and when we got out of the military, I moved to Texas. I'm originally from North Carolina. But while we were together, we had 3 kids, and they were all they were a year apart. So culturally, where I live I live 10 miles from the Mexico border.
Okay.
And so my first and second one is 2 years apart. And then my second and third one, they're only 12 months apart. Nadia was 3 months old when I got pregnant with Destiny. So that's how that goes. So we call them Mexican twins. They're Mexican twins. So really close in age. And I remember standing in the kitchen. I always wanted to go to college. I joined the Army so I could pay for college. But then I got married again, and I had these young kids and these children. And I remember my sister-in-law starting college. My husband had started taking some class too. And I remember standing in the kitchen, and I remember just bawling. And my husband was like, "What is wrong?" And I said, "I did not imagine my life to be like this. Everybody around me is leaving me behind." That's how I felt, that everybody was leaving me behind. And so he said, "If you want to do this, we can do this." I signed up that next semester, and I was finished with my undergrad degree in 3 years. I got my master's within 2 years. So it took me 5 years to do my undergraduate and master's. And I had 3 small kids, but I could not have done that without the support of a great spouse. But I planned, and that's what I want people to hear. I knew what classes I needed to take, when they were offered, when they weren't offered. So I was not there to waste time. During the summer, I took full classes, 12 hours, first summer semester, 12 hours, second summer semester, and planned everything out. Never dropped a class, never did any of that. Everything was planned down to the detail because I knew I have these kids. I have a window. I got to do this. And that was the mentality that I went in with. And so I said all of that, like I said, the good, the bad, and the ugly, to share with people that it can be done, even when you feel like you are being left behind. You don't have to be. You can get in there. You can plan. It might not have been the direction or the path that you thought, the pretty way to get there. But you get there. You get there.
This is so good. And so much of it is speaking to me as someone who did their first year in college, then went to the Army, then I had my child. And this is so speaking to me. And I think about a couple of college students I know who are struggling with finding their footing. They don't have kids. They don't have the external responsibilities. But you said something that's super critical, and that's the planning piece, right? If you're intentional about your success and achieving this goal you've set out for yourself, if it's indeed a goal, because I think sometimes there's the external pressure to do what you're expected to do, but it's not a goal you have within you. It's not really something that's aligned with your passion. So if it's really and truly your goal and you're investing time and money, you need a plan. Who taught you that? Where did that come from?
Although my mom was not educated in that manner, I think my mom accomplished a lot, especially, via the church. A lot of us via the church, learning, seeing her in action, those planning skills. You pick up on that. I was Bible Bowl champion. She would drive me
Wow.
around from church to church, and I would study in the car, and she would schedule it, and I would have to be here and I would have to be there. I saw her in action, and I think that our children are watching, and it's not really about how much education you have necessarily.
Mhm.
It's about what characteristics that you're displaying to them. And so that's where I got it from.
That is it. I hope my kids are watching. I know they watch and they listen to everything I do and don't do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this episode, that is coming from someone other than me. And I am very much a planner. And neither one of my kids seem to have inherited that. I like to be
But they're
organized.
watching.
Neither
They're
one of my
watching.
kids.
They're watching. It'll come when they have something that they want to accomplish.
Yeah.
They will lean back on what they saw their parents or their mom do.
Mm-hmm.
It's just natural. And my kids now, they're older and they're planners.
Wow.
My daughters are planners. They're both in the process of building their first homes, and they planned it out. They it's funny because I walk around with a things to do list, and they have one too. They're better at money than I am. Mm-hmm. I will say that. They're better at money, and they are the financial planners in their households.
Wow.
So
awesome.
They do see and they do emulate.
Awesome. Wow. Awesome. So let me rewind a little bit, because you mentioned going through all of these sort of pre-law classes. You thought you were on the track, and then this internship shifted gears for you. And you're like, yeah, hard no, right? Let me go in this direction. How did you get that internship? And part of me is thinking through all the kind of test and learn activities I had throughout high school and college, where I realized, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. How'd you get your internship?
Well, they came to our class and they presented the internship, and they said, you get college credit for it. And I was like, I don't have to go to class. I just need to show up here and do this work. I get to, learn mediation. Sounds like a win-win to me.
Yeah.
And so I applied for the intern. Now, it was not a paid internship. I do want to say that it was not paid, but for me, the payment was getting the college credit.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to ask yourself, where's the value, and is it a win-win? Mm-hmm. And for me, it was a win-win because, like I said, my situation was I had 3 kids. And so not to have to go to class and be able to do this internship and get exposed to the legal community, because that's why I took it. I wanted to start networking and building those relationships in the legal community. It just turned out to be different, but I've always thought building relationships. And so that's why I value, if you're a college student right now and you've never had any work experience, take an internship.
Boom.
Take it, because you're going to build your network. One, it might tell you, oh, this is not what I want to do. And that's a win. Because
huge win.
Going down a path, a huge win, getting a degree in something you don't want to do.
Waste of time and money. You don't want to wake up every day.
Waste of time and money. And you don't want to be miserable. You want to get up every day and do something that you enjoy doing. And so I think internships are very key, because in my career as a CEO, I work with a lot of people who graduate from college, but they have no work experience. They have no work experience, and they've really just been focused on school. And not only do they have no work experience, oftentimes they don't have those soft skills that you're looking for either. They don't know how to talk, to speak with people, how to work in a team setting, how to do all those other things. And internships, if you're not going to work while you're in college, an internship is a good way to start gathering some of those skills, because it's not just about the degree. And I think we have been indoctrinated so much about get a college degree is going to change how much money you make and the career path and all that. Some pieces to that is true, but it's not just the college degree. You have to be able to get along with people. You have to be able to work in a team. You have to be able to communicate. And the only way you're going to do those things is get out there in the real world and start doing it.
You're speaking to me. Um, we are speaking the same language.
Good.
I did a whole podcast episode on the degree not being enough. And I say that as someone who has recruited interns, someone who continues to work in that early talent space. Like, your degree sounds great. Go for it. But while you're working on it, I need you to get the internship. I need you to volunteer. I need you to do something to start
to build those skills.
Experience. Exactly. Exactly. Don't graduate with no resume, because that's not positioning you for success. Let's talk about like earning potential, right? And the more work experience you build when you graduate, oh my gosh, you can demand so much more, right? And I want
so much more. And as someone who hired people, I looked at that. I'm telling you, from the person who hires, I specifically look for that, because I would rather take in someone who has a degree and did internship and volunteer than someone who just focused on the academics. Because I know I'm going to have to spend a lot of time helping them develop their emotional intelligence. Then I have to ask myself, do I want to spend that time helping them develop their emotional intelligence? And the answer, when you're busy, might be no.
Not now.
Don't. Yeah. Not now. So
talk to me about mentorship. As someone who didn't have a parent who went to college, I struggled a little bit, right? And I think part of that was because, in addition to being a mega introvert, I wasn't intentional about building those relationships, connecting with mentors and people who I saw doing what I wanted to do in the future. How has that played a role in your success? How did that play a role in your educational journey? And then even beyond that, are you a mentor now, formally or informally? So I'm excited to hear about this.
Well, I think mentorship plays a critical role. And let me say this, it really impacted my life, because as I grew up, I didn't have people around me that went to college. I did not, but I had people who went to the military. And so I saw them and I said, okay, that's what they did. One of my mom's best friend's husband was in the military. He was 82nd Airborne Division. And when they were stationed in Fort Bragg, we would go there for the summers. So that was my mentor. That was the path. And so that's what I saw. That's what I took, right? So mentors play a huge role because they're laying out that path.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And so he laughs at me to this day about me being his daughter because I followed his path into the military, and all those things like that. And as I advanced in my career, I had some great mentors. My first boss mentored me. And when I say mentored, I mean mentor. When she went to a meeting, she took me to the meeting. When she worked on a project, I worked on the project. She was not intimidated. She did not have a college degree. I had a college degree. And she was not intimidated that, she's going to come in and overtake or do these things. She had confidence in her ability, because a lot of times you will get a boss who will not invest in you because they feel threatened by you.
Say that.
Yes. And she was not that person. And I appreciate the pattern that she laid out for me, because she showed me you can invest in people and not feel threatened, and it's okay. And one of the things that she showed me is, even if they move on, they're moving on in the same industry. So they're making the industry better. And I was like, okay, I can do this. This is a good way to live, to be that way. So she poured into me. She really poured into me. And she poured into me so much that now, when I was the CEO of that organization, I mentored as well. I mentored on the national level for Boys and Girls Club. I mentored new CEOs that were coming into the Boys and Girls Club movement. Wow. And now in my business, it's funny, I'm going to give away the secret. In my business, because I work with nonprofit fundraisers and CEOs, I choose to mentor one person a year for free, because I do charge for my services. And the application process is rigorous. You just have to reach out to me via social media and have the courage to ask.
That's it.
And the first person who does that is the person I take on for mentorship for a whole year. Wow. I meet with them for a month. once a month virtually via Zoom, and we go through their workload. I help them process it. I help them. Here's a tool you can use. You need to vent. Okay, let's jump on. Let's vent. Yes, that's the rigorous process. It just takes courage.
That's it.
You're rewarding courage. Step beyond your fear. That's what I chose. If that person is going to step beyond their fear and ask, then they're ready. And so the first one who asks and is ready, that's the one I take on. And I've met some wonderful people like that I've never really, I've met virtually, but never really in person.
Yeah.
And they still call and we still have a relationship, and that's the process. And then as far as high school or early college, I'm a mentor for this program we have here called VAMOS, which is for first-time minority college students. And I meet with them as well to help them through their process. This is their first time going off to college. Most of them are not going to college in their backyard. They're leaving their family. This area we call this the Rio Grande Valley. Like I said, it's about 10 miles from Mexico. And then people go, okay, South Texas. They go San Antonio. I said, no, keep going 3 hours. They go Corpus. I said, no, keep going 2 hours. I said, that little part that dips into Mexico, there you go. That's where we're at. And so it kind of isolated in that sense. So a lot of times when they leave the valley to go out into the world and to college somewhere, they might be experiencing discrimination for the first time or racism for the first time. They don't know how to handle that. And so to be able to mentor and have someone that they can call or they might not be prepared for that college class, like that responsibility. It's not your mama telling you got to do your homework or you got to do this. You have to plan, and you have to plan and know what you're doing and set up your schedule and do your classwork and all of those challenges that happen. So I like to do that because, again, I was one of those kids. So
right. And you said it's called VAMOS, right?
Yes, VAMOS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. So you've shared quite a bit along the way. What's one, I guess if we had to put a bow on it, one major key to success that you would share with a college student? And I know you led with one, so that may be the one that we lean on, but what's that major key?
I'm always going to go back to build relationships, whether you're in college, build relationships with your college classmates. So I say this, people say, oh, you went to Harvard or you went to here or you went to there. It's the school, it's the quality of the education, but it's really the network. Yeah. Who is that student next to you and who do they network with? So I tell people, if you plan on staying in the community that you're in, it's okay to go to college in that community because that person next to you is going to be the next mayor or the next this or the next that. And that's who you need to network with and build those relationships with. So that's how I look at college and what choice to go through. That's how I encourage my kids to pick where you want to go. Yeah. It's about the network. It's about who's in the room. Where are they going to be? And how they're going to help advance you. So building relationships and networking. You got to get out. You got to do it. And every opportunity is a networking opportunity.
Don't overthink it.
Don't overthink it.
People right in your community, neighbors, classmates, professors, teachers, everyone you meet along the way could have an impact along the way in your journey, right? So how can we find you? How can we support you? How can we get support from you? Because I imagine there's someone in the Rio Grande area who wants to connect with Miss Sabrina or elsewhere. Talk to us a little bit about that.
You know, it's a virtual world. I have clients all over. So my website is www.supportingworldhope.com.
Perfect. That's how we'll find you. Yes. Sabrina, this has been awesome. I feel like I want a part two whenever you're ready, because I really do want to dive deeper into a couple of things that are coming to mind. So you all stay tuned for part two. I know Miss Sabrina is going to commit to it.
Yeah, I'm open to it. So
awesome. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Talk to you later.
All right.
Bye-bye.
If you're hearing this message, you have listened to the entire episode. And for that, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please don't forget to subscribe. Leave us a review and check out our website at www.thekeystotheoffice.com. We look forward to connecting with you in a future episode. Until then, Go be amazing.